All right, and we are recording. Welcome, everybody. This is Beast Talk episode 3. Make sure you go tune into episode 1 and 2. First episode was with my great friend Brittany, where we spoke about chronic kidney disease, of her living with that for 20 years. Second episode was with my man Sharif. We spoke about nutrition and him also dealing with type 1 diabetes and cerebral palsy. So very good content that we're putting out there. So make sure you go check that out. This episode is a little different. So as you see, I have a group of people here with me, all great individuals. I was in a 6-week apprenticeship program with King Strength and Performance. So we're doing like a little reunion special here. We're going to talk about our experiences during it. We're going to get some takeaways. We're going to see what's up and coming for this next apprentice class. As you can see, we have my man Rob on the left. Garrick won't be here, but Rob was one of the people that ran the apprenticeship program. So we'll get to hear from the man himself of what's going on with the next class, some of the takeaway that he even had during his journey. So it's excited to have him here with us and hopefully have a few more people to join us as well during this because there was a pretty big class here. So this is going to be interactive. I am going to ask pretty much everybody some questions. I want everybody to participate with me. And if you do have questions for me, we can do that as well. But I do want to start off real basic is what is some of the hardships that you have dealt with in your 6-week journey here in the apprenticeship program? And I want to start with Sahil on this thing.
Hey, could you repeat that? The connection kind of fizzled out. You were kind of frozen.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to ask you, what are some of the hardships that you faced during your 6-week journey in your apprenticeship?
Okay, cool. Probably I would say probably not knowing what I wanted to get out of it at first was kind of the major one. I kind of went in just not really knowing what my end goal was, so that was a little difficult at first. Is what should I really try and get accomplished here? But that kind of subsided quickly. Like maybe 3 weeks in, I felt pretty comfortable as to what I was actually going to learn. No, that was really it, honestly, from my end. I don't know about other people, but yeah.
So what did you learn that you wanted to get at the end of this?
Definitely the biggest part was sales and marketing and business. I never really knew much about it from my perspective. It was always just something that the gym or the owner did, not something that the personal trainer did. So I got a real deep dive into that and saw that it's almost like a symbiotic relationship, honestly. Sales and PT, they're kind of, woven together as one. You can't really have one without the other and be successful. So that was a major takeaway.
Super true. Thank you, man. Thank you. Dave, let's hear from you. What was some of the hardships that you've dealt with during your journey?
Sorry, I had to come off mute and on video. I think some of the hardships was the timing of the assignments and just being able to keep up. I think that was a challenge because Rob certainly didn't make it easy, which he shouldn't make it easy. It should be challenging. So I think it was a good pace, but that was probably the hardest part of the whole apprenticeship, just making sure that I was on top of all the assignments and making sure I was understanding it and asking the right questions. And, even with that, it got me to reach out to a lot of the peers and ask questions, right? Because, Rob and Garrick are running around doing their thing. So it's kind of easy to reach out to the peers and ask. And like I said in the previous meeting, I got to know a lot of the peers, but not everyone, because I haven't been in person. I've been 100% virtual. And what I took away, I would say is, I think the biggest, I said it on my video, but I got to know the members a lot better. I got to know everyone here a lot better. That was the biggest takeaway for me. And also kind of learning the virtual classes and running them better and knowing how that's different than the in-person was a big thing for me. Because it's a huge difference in terms of the interaction, in terms of the observation. I Cheryl, I'm sure, could attest to a lot of that, because we've been on a lot of classes together virtually. So I would say that was the biggest takeaway for me, is to learn more about the movement, the regression, the cues, and just working with a group in general, because it's not an easy thing, whether it be in person. Now I feel like I'm better virtual than in person, so I got to learn the in person from Rob and Garrick. But that's it for me.
Was there a reason that you wanted to do the whole thing virtual?
I just haven't been comfortable with the whole COVID situation.
Got it.
So yeah, and again, like, I wanted to go out, but like it's like rather wait. Like, if I don't have to go out, what's the point of going out?
Got it.
And I feel like I get like all the workouts and the gains from the virtual. So if I felt like I wasn't getting the gains, then I'd probably go in person. And there is a lot of benefits to the in person too. The community feel isn't necessarily there, because virtual, you get a few minutes after class, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Kat, what you got for me?
Yeah, so going into the apprenticeship, I was actually kind of afraid that because I was only 16, that no one would really take me seriously, and that like, because I was going to be working with a bunch of adults, I was kind of scared for that, gotta be honest. But I definitely feel like towards the end I got a lot better at talking and communicating with people, and I feel like that has been the thing that changed the most within the 6 weeks. It was definitely a big game changer.
Love it. Michaela.
Hello. I feel like for me, it was more so just a balancing, just work and the apprenticeship, and like trying to work out. It's a lot to do, and it's a lot of time management. I know, like, in the beginning, I was talking to Rob about it, or whatever the case may be. And like, I literally had to go get like a calendar, where you like write the month, the date, whatever, and like your days, just to kind of, I guess, have it in front of me, versus like on my phone, just to see the certain days that like I would shadow, or the certain days that I would like work out, or days that like I would study, because I have worked like 5 days out the week unless I take PTO. But aside from that, it's just trying to figure out when to be able to do all these things in the good amount of time where I can still be present for each thing, whether it is a workout or a shadow, or whether I am at work with other people for 8 hours of the day. So the time management was definitely one. And then also like coming outside of myself with the shadowing. I know I didn't shadow as much as I'd like to, but I also had to realize, like, within the process of everything going on, like, sometimes you're not going to be able to do things that you want to do the way that you want to, but as long as you put forth the effort and try your best, that kind of, I feel like that matters more than trying to do everything all at once. So, and I kind of didn't realize that until maybe like a week or two ago. So that, and then I'm trying to think what else. It's the time management, that, and also just being there, being present. I think I want to say I've taken more classes more than I've shadowed, or at least it seems that way. Maybe it's not, but that's how it feels to me. But I just feel like taking classes for me has kind of helped me connect more with people than it has with the shadowing, just because like I feel like when people can see you working and they see you struggling, or even if you're not struggling, they just see that, okay, this person's working just like I am, just as hard as I am. So just being present, time management, and just like putting forth the effort when you can. Those are the few things that I've noticed, and some of the things that were the hardest for me that I had to kind of like realize or get a handle on, or just get better at doing.
So when you said you felt like it was easier to interact with people when you did class, is that because you have more of like a lead by example type of personality, more so than just like giving orders?
I think so. Like, I want to say, yeah, I know like where I work now, not that I'm comfortable giving orders, but maybe because I've been around people like a lot longer, because I am here 8 hours a day and I've been here for a year and a half. So I feel like when people see you more and they see you interact more, they get more comfortable and they trust you more. So, and I had to realize like work is different from the apprenticeship, because I've already established like myself here. Whereas like with the apprenticeship with King, like, yeah, people know of me and people know me, but I haven't really like, I guess, established my presence there just yet. So, yeah, I think I'm definitely more by like the lead by example person, at least in that aspect as of right now. I mean, that could change because people are always evolving. You don't always stay the same. But as of right now, I feel like that's where I'm at. So yeah.
That's a great answer. And Cheryl.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I think the hardest part of the apprenticeship for me was just getting over some of my insecurities. Like a lot of the stuff we did, obviously it's very like front facing and very like client facing, and I think I've always been the type of person to be in the background. And I think trying to like gain the courage to really think of myself as a leader, as somebody who's knowledgeable and is able to share that knowledge with other people, I think was a challenge for me in the beginning. But I think slowly as we like took on more classes and took on more challenges, and just like posting on Instagram or like recording a video of yourself, like I think I personally had a lot of insecurities with doing that, just because it wasn't something that I've ever done before. But the more you do it, the more you practice. It definitely did get more comfortable over time. I am definitely still learning, and I think as I go along, there are definitely like more and more things that are coming up that I'm finding that I have to work on. But trying to look at it in a positive rather than, oh, this is something that I lack or something that I'm not good at, just thinking of it as something as a learning experience. So I think through the apprenticeship, it definitely changed my framework about how, I think about myself and how I think about and take on different challenges. So yeah, that's good.
Everybody did a lot of reflecting during this. That's great. So I'm going to switch gears now. So I asked you about the hardship. So my next question would be, what are some of the strengths that you noticed about yourself during this that maybe you didn't notice about yourself before this? I want to start with Michaela on that.
Well, okay, sorry, I'm still at work, but I think some of my strengths that I noticed, or that I had, to be honest, I am gonna say I'm not sure, but I'm gonna say that maybe talking to people. I feel like for me, it's not necessarily hard. I've had a retail job for pretty much most of my life. I had retail jobs most of my life. My parents are pretty outgoing, and like, although we all have like those certain dynamics with our parents, my mom, she always pretty much just kind of taught me like, you're never inferior to anybody else. You always have to think of yourself highly and things like that. And when you for yourself get into a space, you have to make yourself not known, but you have to just be present. That's why presence is such an important thing, because you can be somewhere, and if you feel yourself shrinking into that space, it's kind of like you shrinking into yourself. So people may notice you, but if you don't notice yourself in a different space, you don't give yourself that chance to blossom or to meet new people. So my parents just always made it a thing for me to just, when I'm in a space and I feel like, maybe I don't fit in there, or if I don't know anybody, or if maybe I'm uncomfortable, just to kind of get those negative thoughts out and just take it as an opportunity to just kind of, learn something new or meet people. So I think like just having that advice throughout my life has kind of helped me be able to talk to people and just start conversations, whether it's, oh, how are you, or what's your name, or, oh, I like your necklace, any little thing. I feel like as people, as humans, we're all interconnected, and we all need some type of human interaction. Me personally, people will say no, but I don't care what anybody says. Like, we all need some type of interaction.
Absolutely.
So I just feel like for me, talking is not necessarily hard. I know I have moments where I do shrink into myself and where like I may kind of fade into the background, but also too with that, comes your confidence, your self-esteem, and just like how you want to be seen to people. So it's kind of a mental thing as well. You have to always kind of just let yourself know like, hey, I'm here, I'm in this space. Like I'm here because I want to do this, or I'm here for this, or I'm here for that. It's just always kind of like a positive self-talk type of thing. So I just feel like for me, one of my biggest strengths, I definitely would say would be talking. Now, depending on whether it's too much sometimes, and I may not know how to hold back, that might be a weakness of mine. But, that's just kind of, I guess, goes into like who I am. And over time, that does come out. The more comfortable I get with people and when they get to know me. But, I would definitely say one of them that I do notice is just being able to talk to people and not worrying about, I guess, like how they see me, or, what they view me as, or if they feel like I'm equal or whatever. The conversation that's going to be had is going to be had regardless. So, yeah.
Nice. Dave, how about you? Some of the strengths you noticed about yourself?
Some of the strengths that I notice about myself would probably be I've always had that sales background, so that kind of continually came through. I wasn't really uncomfortable with running the classes. It was more not knowing what I didn't know, and it was trying to learn that as I was going. But like it forces you to learn. It puts you in that position to say, okay, I don't fully know what I'm doing, or I need to understand what I'm fully doing before I communicate that to a class. Or so it forces you to learn. So in terms of strengths, it just helped me to adapt a lot better to the classes, and it put me in a position to kind of push forward.
Mm-hmm.
So there's either, people react differently, right? You either sink or swim, they say. So, I always try and swim out of it if I feel like I'm drowning. So I think, I think that was the biggest strength for me is just continually pushing through and trying to learn and absorb as much as I can from everyone in class, from Rob, from Garrick, from, YouTube. YouTube is a good place to find out.
YouTube is a great place.
Yeah, different types of movements or alternative movements. So, and it also got me to network a bit more because I wasn't big on social media. And I think that started coming through. I started following the feeds a lot more because I don't think I did that in the past. So.
Nice. Cheryl, how about you?
I think out of this apprenticeship, I found that one of my strengths is, coaching and doing fitness and, just helping people with their movement and everything. It's actually something that I really, really care about and I really feel that I'm passionate about. My previous role before this, I was just working in administration. I was doing a job to get by so I could just have money to pay the rent and everything like that, answering emails, doing all these things that I honestly didn't care about. So, going to work every day felt like a chore. It felt like a bother because I just genuinely didn't want to be there. And I think having the opportunity to do this and to learn more about like fitness and wellness and exercise and movement, being able to share that with other people, it just doesn't feel like work. It's just something that I feel like I'm really thankful and have the opportunity to enjoy every day.
Sahil?
I think one of the strengths that I noticed that I had was when it comes to teaching a class, for me, like before this apprenticeship, anything that I would kind of, give advice to some of my friends who wanted to lift, or like anybody else in general, kind of came from just instinctive training. When I got into weightlifting, I kind of did this on my own. I didn't really have a personal trainer, so a lot of it was just trial and error and like knowing what my body feels. So it was kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like put words to like exactly what I was doing and explain it technically. But I saw that when I was teaching classes that I was able to actually explain it in a very straightforward way and not just, my default is just like, just kind of feel the movement and feel what your body's telling you. And for a lot of people who are not experienced, they don't really know how to instinctively train, or they need guidance on their form a lot of the time. So I saw that I was able to actually like tell people what the right way to do something is technically and what exactly it's going to work muscle wise. And just with that, it also kind of made me realize that like I can command a room. I've usually always been shy and quiet, but I realized like I can be confident in myself, and it doesn't really matter who the people are, what they think of me. I can project myself and run a class. So yeah.
It's important. Kat.
It's actually kind of funny because I feel like within the 6 weeks, like something would happen in the first week and then I'd correct it the next week and then just like progressively get better. Because I feel like there is just such a big difference over the mistakes I was making in the beginning over what I was doing at the end. So I think especially one thing was in the beginning when we were doing the time under tension, I didn't know some of the workouts and I was asking what they were. And then I learned that I could just look it up over the YouTube because it's so much easier. And then it was just different things. And I feel like one of my strengths going into it was that I had the ability to just take the mistake and then correct it the next time so I didn't make the mistake again. And I think that's kind of important when you're just like learning and stuff, because you have to know how to take criticism and then just apply it so that way you don't make the same mistakes. And I feel like over the 6 weeks that really helped me out into getting so much better from week 1 to week 6.
Progressively getting better. Sounds just like our training. So I do want to direct it a little bit towards Rob. I want to switch gears a little bit again. So I know with a lot of how you structured things, Rob, there was a reason of why you did things the way you did, just to kind of see how a lot of us would respond to it. So my question would be to you is, was there anything that didn't go as planned, but it actually turned out to be something good for you? And if there wasn't something that turned out to be something good for you, was there anything that just didn't go as planned and it actually like changed up how you wanted to maneuver into the next week?
So I think the first thing to be said is, as much as you guys know I enjoy planning things and being prepared to a certain level, something always doesn't go to plan. Always. And no, like for my entire life that I've been able to plan things, it's always been like that. And with this apprenticeship, this specific class with you guys, like I'm thinking now of some specific examples. Like I know for certain there were a few things that didn't go out to plan. So for example, one of the immediate ones that comes to mind is technically speaking, we didn't get to work on as many of the programming and like actual like movements and programming that I would have wanted to. So I think because as Garrick and I were looking out ahead, we played around a lot with what was going to happen week by week. And we were like, okay, this is really important. Like this kind of stuff should happen earlier. And then we'd be like, well, this stuff is not important, but this stuff is more important. And then ultimately, when we were clear that the idea of what we were doing was to stress the non-technical skills that we think were required or that we think really benefit developing like high competency as for trainers in general, and especially of course for our team, we were like, you know what? Considering that part of our group either already has certs or are in the process of getting them, by doing the studying and the work there, you already get a lot of the, like, let's call it non-experiential knowledge. I forget what the term for it is, but like the stuff that you can learn just by reading. You can learn a lot of that stuff, like Kat and other people already pointed out, YouTube and these other amazing resources online, not even counting your certification stuff, that will all teach you a lot. We wanted to focus on the thing that we know people really learn from, which is experience by doing. So I think that was, even though we didn't get to fit in as many of the technical programming things, we were like, you know what? That's okay. Like next class, like thinking about this list of improvements, I do want to include more of that in. I already have a couple of good ideas for how to build it in, but yet like, that's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I'm okay with that it didn't work out. So that's like one of a handful of things, but that's what immediately comes to mind.
That's funny you brought that up, because I know that was one of the things that I wanted to look into, like with more of the programming and like what you guys' mindset was and how you approached it like on a month-to-month basis. And I did realize that we never touched on to that, but I can see now why you didn't focus on that so heavily. I guess you were pretty much just adjusting with the group that you already had and just kind of figuring out what skills would pretty much suit the group of people that you have now to push forward with the weeks.
Yeah, a lot like that. And also because we knew that really you could read books on programming, you could talk to us on programming. You couldn't in this time make time at a random gym to go in and teach, to go in and be like, here's what it's like to lead. Here's what it's like to juggle mistakes. Here's what it's like when your internet fails and 20 minutes into class, you are struggling to reconnect. I'm talking about the one memorable class I had with Kat there and a few others trying to lead class. And that's just online. The in-person showing up at 30 minutes before class and either being locked out like you recently, or even though that wasn't part of the, I wish we could fake that. I actually think we will. This is great. I'm going to write that down. I'm not even kidding, guys. I'm not messing around with that. But also like showing up early and like recognizing that half your stuff is like wrecked because of water. It's just like, that's the kind of stuff you cannot learn from a textbook. You can't practice leadership by reading it. You can't practice executing by reading. There are very, like, as I love reading and I love learning via like resources that are available, but a lot of things just have to be, some of you guys saw my IG story a day or two ago, learned not just by experience, but repeated experience. So yes.
So since we're on this topic, I'll kind of stay here a little bit. What are some things that you guys personally wish that maybe we would have went a little more in detail about during the apprenticeship program, or some things that I guess that you wish that they touched on a little deeper with? I'll start with Dave on this one.
You're always picking on me, Terrence. It's all right.
Yeah, man. We didn't get to talk much during this, so this is the time.
Oh, that's true. No, that's true. I don't mind. I just feel bad for everyone else. You have to listen to what I have to say. One of the things that I wish I learned a little bit more about was I think what you touched on was like the programming of the exercises and how like Rob and Garrett come up with that month to month. But it's interesting because I'm studying for NASM. Like I studied all day for NASM today. And a lot of that seemed to be in there, like the vertical and horizontal loading and the single set, supersets, all that. So I started seeing the picture, kind of bigger picture of how some of that stuff is pulled together. Yeah. So Rob's pointing to his head, and I was reading it today. I'm like, wow, this is what we do at King. Oh yeah, this is what they do. So it started, like, I was able to connect a lot more of that stuff now.
Aha moments, I call them.
Yeah. Although the one thing I don't think we do a lot of is drop sets, but now Rob would be like, oh, we're doing drop sets next month. So, no, that was good. So I would say that I wanted more of, but then as I'm reading, I'm learning it on my own, and it's kind of coming together. So I don't know if that was by design, and by Rob pointing at his head saying it probably was by design that way. So yeah. Outside of that, I can't think of anything else. That was the biggest thing for me. And then afterwards, as I started reading and studying, I realized that it's all there.
So I'll make it a two-part question for you. If you were in control of the 6-week apprenticeship program, what is something that you would implement in?
I think I gave the feedback to Rob. I said in the last meeting is more peer-to-peer interaction with everyone. Not just because I feel like everyone in this room, I probably know Rob and Cheryl the best because I just spent more time with the two of them. I haven't really spent time with Sahil, Kat, and you as well. So it's I would say that's one thing I would try to change. And I was reaching out to individuals just out of ease because I'm very quick for a response and quick to do things. So I was reaching out to people that were kind of like me. It's the same gem type, like, I'll do it right now. So I couldn't wait. And then, I realized that I was going back to that same individual each time. But one thing I would maybe change is for the future apprenticeship is you're not allowed to go back to the same person that you work with. That way it will force me to like work with you or work with Kat or work with someone else on the team. Because I noticed it was just easy. I just kept going back to the individual because I was knocking out the assignment that way. But in hindsight, I didn't get to know you guys, fully. So that's one regret that I could have done differently, but I didn't realize it until the end of the program.
That's great. Cheryl.
I think similar to David and what you were saying too about learning like the technical information, I think going into this, because this is my first experience in fitness aside from doing just like front desk stuff. I thought we were going to focus more on like the exercises themselves and like how to correct form and what to do this and when to not do this. But like, as everybody else said, like I could easily do that on my own, Like before every class, like I studied what the movements are. I like made sure I found them on like YouTube and just like learned about the mechanics. And, I think like I'm the type of person that I feel like I don't want to teach somebody unless I feel fully confident in myself that I know what I'm talking about. So I think it would have helped if we did a little bit more of the technical stuff, but I'm also glad that we didn't, because we got to experience a lot of different things, like Rob was saying, like things you can only learn from doing and having experience. And I think that was actually really beneficial to me, because like we said, you can definitely study this stuff on your own. Like I got a couple books to learn more about like the body mechanics and the muscles and everything like that. And I'm good at studying on my own, but I can't say that I'm good at talking to people on my own or teaching on my own, So yeah.
And I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked Dave. What is something that you would implement and if you were in control of this?
So again, similar to Dave, but a little bit different. I think, the community at King is so like open and welcoming, and I'm really thankful for that, because I've had an opportunity to learn from a lot of people and a lot of the other instructors who do have a lot more experience in the field. But I think it would have been helpful maybe if when we had started, we had instructor mentors, just like someone to refer back to, like in case Rob or Garrick was busy with something and we maybe needed help with an assignment, or we're feeling kind of anxious or nervous about class. Just, I think having that additional touch point and that support would have been good as well.
Yeah, I have to just piggyback on that. I bugged Casper so many times. I feel bad for that guy. But yeah, like I know, like I would jump on class like 30 minutes before just to catch up with them, and that's his time, So I felt kind of bad about that. And he didn't ask for that role. We kind of just put him there. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to maybe that's what he's there for, and he's supposed to help us. But at the same time, it was kind of never said. So I don't know if I just said, hey, can you just meet up with me before this? And even after class, like, he did invest a lot of his time just before and after.
Yeah, that's the right guy to go to too. So, Sahil, what about you? What is something that you wish we went over a little bit more?
Kind of like everyone else said, definitely about the programming. Probably won't go too deep into that because I'm probably just going to say what everyone else already said. But besides programming, I know they once mentioned about kind of working out as an apprentice, not like as a class, but like, hey, like all the trainers are going to work out this time on the weekend. You guys should come do that. I think that would have been great. I know it didn't ever actually end up happening. But I thought that would have been great to like kind of go with programming to like maybe different instructors who are more experienced to teach you different training styles, correct your form, give you some pointer tips for your own workouts, or just, when you have to train people in general, it's like, hey, like this is maybe like a cool shoulder circuit you could do, or here's how you fix your bench press. So like kind of, experience-based training with workouts. I think that would have like really helped a lot. That's really it.
Is there anything you would do differently if you ran it?
Yeah, I think what I would have done differently is for one of the classes, I would go over one of the months that we program. So like say it's like the cluster training group, I would have went in and explained like what the reasoning behind it is and why we're doing it. Not so much like what cluster training is, because like that probably takes 3 seconds to explain, but why they pick these specific workouts on these specific days and how to lead a group through it. I think that would have like helped a lot with helping people instruct the classes.
So I will give Rob, I will come to his defense on that. There was a Zoom chat that went over all of that, but I don't think everybody watched it. And we did have a Zoom chat that talked about the programming for that, right, Rob? Yeah. So he
a blog post explaining the details behind it too.
Yeah, so that was actually out there. I just don't think everybody got to that link. I did want to go to Michaela next to see what she wanted to get more out of the programming.
I'm not sure if you guys can see me. I'm kind of like in my car right now. I just got home. Okay. Hey. So I think for me, definitely the programming. But like I know when you're doing NASM or if you're studying any certification, they kind of go over that a little bit. But I feel like just seeing it and just learning about it in a visual way I feel like visual is way better than anything you can get from a textbook. I know me, I'm a visual learner. Not that I'm the best at studying or the worst, but I just like visual things better. I just feel like it's easier to kind of just take in and see how things are done, or like why they're done, or just how it's done. But definitely the programming, and I want to say maybe the business aspect. I know we went over that, and I thought the week that we had was super, super great. I actually liked it a lot. But I think maybe like an extra week of that, or maybe just like trying to see, I guess, how everybody's, not necessarily their sales pitch is, but like how they would go about maybe talking to somebody who's new coming into the gym, or whatever the case may be. I know there was a class that I did outside. It was at 6 p.m. I was with Janelle and Casper, and we had a girl that came. She had did like a 7-day. She said she had seen it on Mind and Body, but she just came in for a trial class. And I remember Robin Garrick saying that when people come in, you always want to obviously get their name, their background, and just ask them like how they heard about us and things like that. So I remember those things, those key points, and I definitely asked her name, where she came from, what gym she went to, what type of training style she was into, so things like that. But yeah, I think those two things, definitely the programming and just throwing business in there, because I feel like business, there's so many ways to go about it. Like there's so many techniques, there's so many business models. So kind of just I guess going over those, or just going more in depth of like the business model that like King has, that you guys use, and I guess just trying to get people to figure out what not business model, but I guess how they would go about getting a client or someone to join the gym themselves. Something like, like throughout the 6 weeks, try to get one person to join the gym, or have them come back for like more than one class if they're new, something like that, just to see like where everybody is, or how comfortable they feel, and then they can have like their feedback on like how it went, if they were nervous, what questions they asked them, what did they learn about the person, and just like how the conversation went, just to kind of gauge like where they're at, if they were comfortable, and things like that.
Is there anything you would do differently, or you would add it in?
Differently, not
if you were in
necessarily.
charge. Sorry.
I think everything. No, you're good. I think everything was pretty much planned out good. Maybe I would have made it like, instead of 6 weeks, maybe did like, I don't know, 8. But also, you don't want things to get like redundant, or you don't want to lose people. So maybe not. But like I said, I think I definitely would have added in like just an extra week, like for the business portion, just because like that's really important. Personal training has the word personal in it, and sales is like a huge part. So I think maybe just adding like another week of that, and just to really kind of like hone in, like I said, just to see where people are and their comfortability level, just where they are talking to people and just probing people and seeing just where they're at, with sales, and just or not aggressive person in general, just to kind of try to bring more people and things like that. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
I'm cutting in and out. Oh, I think we lost her.
Still here, Kayla? There we go.
Did my connection cut out? Or
you were fading out a little bit at the end.
Good. I can still hear you guys. Hold on.
All right, we hear you good now.
Yeah, I can still hear you guys. Sorry, my connection's so bad at my house.
You're okay.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Should I repeat anything?
All right, Kat, what is something that you wish you got a little more out of your 6-week journey with us?
Going last sucks. I already said like most of what I wanted to say, but it's okay. So I get like the technical. I really understand that. Also, I'm not old enough to get a NASM or anything like that, so I don't kind of get the same resources to like look at it. But I also can like get books and stuff, so I understand like why we didn't do the technical as much. But also kind of maybe social media, because it's a really big part. Like I see you guys posting all the time, and we talked about it a little bit, especially with the gems and how like specific posts can like relate to certain gems and stuff. And I started to understand that. But as an athlete who wants to like get sponsored by people, like different corporations and stuff like that, I would have liked to understand a little more of like the social media and how like you play to like promoting certain things, and just like how you space it out. Because I also know that I follow some people and I get really annoyed when they're posting like 7 times a day, but I don't get like that. King doesn't do that, which is nice. And just like learning how the programming for the social media and stuff works.
Mhm. So I'm going to bring it back to Rob on this. Is there anything that you wanted to do differently with this group? Yeah, I guess I'll just leave the question there, and then I'll just piggyback off of that.
Well, just to be clear, do you see this question as being a little bit different than what you just asked, like the last question you asked about like things that we planned but didn't go quite to plan?
Yeah, I'm looking at it a little bit more like, I guess, is there some things, I know it kind of sounds a little bit like the last one, but is there some things that you wanted to, I guess, touch on a little further, or just maybe even just seeing everybody's responses that you kind of wish you did a little bit differently between you and Garrick, that maybe you didn't even notice that a lot of people wanted more of this during our journey in it?
Yeah. All right, I'll pick. I have a usual list of things, so I'll just kind of pick the top like 2 or 3 that occur to me. One is I do wish I'd set better expectations in the beginning. So you guys hear this from me every now and then, but like I think one of the underrated skills out here is communication, which is like a very broad umbrella. It's kind of saying like fitness. It encompasses so many things. And yet, like with all the things we did, and thinking about like what I am definitely going to do differently and am preparing now for the next class, it's like setting clearer expectations across the board for everybody and everything. So like, I mean, just to actually get specific, I'm talking about like the content. What are we covering? Like, it's not like mentioning minute by minute, but it's more like, okay, here's what we're doing. Like right at the outset, I wanted to have a syllabus planned and put together, but then I didn't release it at the start because we've never done an apprenticeship as in-depth as this one before. Like last one was good with Casper, the class that Casper graduated from, and that was already leagues ahead of the ones that were before. But you guys, like we went in. It was like we're proud of you guys. We're proud of ourselves too for just seeing what we were able to really do in 6 weeks time. And at the same time, just like you guys know in class, we're proud and we're still growing. We're just like, what were these missed opportunities? How could we have done something better? And so expectations, like not just what we're covering, but like what are the standards like for what we hope you guys will achieve as instructors? So rather than just being like, oh, like command the room better or like speak louder, talk to more people, how could we have simplified and like really gotten you focused on, let's imagine like 5 things for you guys to just do every class, that we introduce one every week for shadowing. It's like, just like our training has some degree of progression, like I wanted to build in better progression, and I didn't do as much of it as like just I'm going to for the next one. So like standards and better. I also really wanted to better include like critical thinking and initiative into the curriculum. So maybe less as its own like top like class topic per se, but just so something I find really interesting. I've always been interested in education, educational design, and like how do you teach people things better? Not the giving of it, not just the transferring of information, but the enabling of action. And that this thing from the instructor side, I know you didn't ask about this, but I figured you guys would be interested to hear. Like from my and Garrick's perspective, we were really trying to think, how can we help you guys arrange the best possible growth despite in spite of all your various backgrounds, age, experience, like preferences, like expectations, all of that. How can we arrange the best possible growth so that you guys would come out of this positively transformed as best as possible? So I keep thinking, as I think about like, if I can only improve 3 things, which like I just give myself that constraint to be like, to help myself prioritize. If I can only improve 3 things, one of the biggest ones would be clearer expectation setting at the beginning, which includes like standards for how you guys are showing up, which I think we did a decent job for. Standards for how often we like all the details, just really like making it as clear as possible. Here's what we're looking for, and here's what, if you aren't able to bring yourself to meet, it's not just that we will drop you from the program, but we don't want you to commit to it in the first place. I felt like we did an okay job with that in the beginning, like conveying this to you guys, like time investment and whatnot. But I don't know if it's like underestimated. I think we couldn't speak to it in depth because we didn't know the depth to which you guys would be able to actually step up and grow. So it's just really nice to see that, like, I'm actually really curious about all of your thoughts about whether you think we like stayed at all to the suggested timing of like how much time you invest per week. I have no idea. So it's just like we said like 3 to 5-ish, just depending on your own interest and whatnot. But it's like we're guessing at those kinds of things. So that expectations is probably number one, and then number two would be better developing more trust, or at least a better relationship and rapport with each of you guys, like individually and even with some more of our team. So in the beginning, we wanted you guys to focus just with, so like David, you brought up with a lot of time spent with Casper. We brought Casper on board into some of these things because like of his personality, because we knew he liked, because he is actually very glad to invest his time in mentoring you guys, because we did the same to him. He was the guy like you guys who had a lot of questions, who wanted to know a lot of different things, how to do better. And we love that kind of thing. So we were just like, man, how do we like improve? How do we cultivate an environment where we kind of have more Casper like folks, you know, even if you guys approach things a little bit differently.
Mm. Yeah, I commend you guys putting this together because one, trying to condense so much information that you can offer into this field in 6 weeks is a headache in its own. And let alone, I don't know how big your classes were before this, but you had a pretty big, you had a really big class. So dealing with so many different age ranges and experiences and backgrounds, education levels, like to figure out a way to find a focal point to where everybody can learn something through is a task in its own. So that I kind of want to stay on this topic a little bit too. What are some of the big differences that you've noticed in the prior groups compared to this group? And let's go a little bit more into detail on what are some plans that you have for the next group that you've already done differently from all the other groups.
Oh man, asking an emerald for detail. I'm not sure Terrence understands what can of worms he has opened up. Terrence, you don't even know. I've got this like notepad right on the side that I've been typing into the whole time. It's crazy.
I've been waiting for this question right here.
Time cap, Terrence. Time cap.
This was it.
David has the idea in mind. Like my own learning. Part of my own improvements have been how do I get more concise with everything. So don't worry, David. I'll try not to take you guys to 10 p.m. So, all right, Terrence, I just want to also be clear myself on what I'll answer. So it sounded like a kind of 2-part question.
It is.
So the second part was, what are some things I'm already planning to do differently for the next one?
Yes.
All right. And then on the first one, you wanted to know what did I notice differences between your class and the previous classes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And are you asking that first part from like what that we did differently or that we noticed were different about you guys?
I was going to say both, actually. So I know I am asking a whole loaded question right now.
That's right. I'm good at questions. So it's actually pretty simple. There was a lot more structure. I can't quantify this, but there was probably 100 times more structure with you guys than in the past class. And then with them, that was even probably 1,000 times more structure than the class before them. So I'm exaggerating a little, but I'm giving you a sense of the direction. We, as you guys probably remember, I repeated to people like you guys and I repeated to our prospects, this November will be open 2 years. And for like a small gym that's run by first-time entrepreneurs, it's pretty damn good. Like, like not to mention how we've been doing through COVID. Like the whole team, Garrick and our team, and of course you guys too, everyone that's contributed, you guys all should take some pride in that as well. Like, and we can't take all the credit. There's certainly some degree of fortune and luck involved with that. But like, man, I think about that sometimes and I'm like, man, time goes by so quick. But each subsequent class first we started with an idea of like, you know what, like it'd be kind of nice to have like apprentices or interns to help us with XYZ things. Like, I mean, anything. Then at some point, I got involved and I was like, so I've done, like I mentioned to you guys, I've instructed a bunch of different things before. Anything I care about, I end up like teaching to people. So it's like, I was like, okay, well, let me get myself like situated, understand the lay of the land, and then figure out how can I better contribute. then so with the last class, so a couple major things were different. One, we had probably 14-ish applicants to this class, of whom we accepted 11. And then the past one, we had, it was informal. I don't even know if we had a application form. Like, I had the idea for an application form. I don't remember if I launched it. I probably did, but like I have that all in Google Drive. But then we ended up taking on 3 people, one of whom like basically dropped himself before the end, one of whom the plan was kind of different from the beginning, and one of whom was Casper. So like the 3 of them had paths that were like a little bit already different from the beginning. And so there was structure, but we used like a totally different chat program that made it was more similar to our IG chat, which made it harder for people to keep on top of things. Like, there were pros and cons to all of it, but the biggest difference by far, structure for you guys. Structure and a better vision for you guys and for us. Because when we started this one, I was like, okay, how can we take 6 weeks of the most important things we think will help you guys succeed as working in fitness, like with us or anywhere else, that will make you stellar and set the foundation. Like, we had no illusion that we were going to make you guys masters at this stuff, but that's not the point. In 6 weeks, it's to give you guys as much opportunity to enable and to encourage you guys to develop certain qualities that we think will be useful, to learn to step beyond whatever version of yourself you have in mind of, oh, I can only do this stuff, and give you an open playground, pretty much. Maybe we'll call it a slightly restricted playground, but to develop, like with the understanding that the more you guys ask for and want, the more we'll give you. And we did. I like to think that as long as it pretty much fit within the framework of what we had in mind, we were like, you guys want more responsibility? You want more challenge? Good. Like, here it is. Teach class. Like, David, when did we drop you guys into classes? Week 2? Like week 3? You know, like that went quick. I want to say week 2, you guys were already teaching segments. And we're pleased with how that went. Like, we wanted a little bit of the feet in the fire. It's not like you had to jump the whole way, but mentally it's a big step. And that was part of the plan. So that was so big difference was structure, and that we really enabled, I think, a much better framework for growth, rather than just being all or nothing, which in the past was kind of like, okay, maybe show up at this time to shadow some person. Okay, now you're here. What do you do? I don't know. I'm teaching class. Like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's a world of difference between what you guys had here and then what, let's say, Janelle went through, what I went through. I didn't go, like, you can't call what I did an apprenticeship as much as like, hey, Rob, you're going to shadow this class. Oh, Derek's gone. I guess I'm teaching the class. Boom. Like, good job. Now do better on the next one. Like, picture that, you know, like that enables a very different kind of personality to thrive. And Garrick has told you before, he's totally serious when he says he's really for that, like, sink or swim kind of like thing. How he and I balanced each other, or how he and I tweaked this program for you guys, your class, was, okay, we do want to test you, but then like, from my perspective, I want to see what each of you are capable of, but you can't do that by pushing everybody into the same depths. I want you guys to know the depths are there, and then to challenge you progressively, like I would do if you're in my class, to go step by step a little bit beyond the stuff you think you know. And that's the only place where growth happens. As, again, you know, you guys get that from fitness, but it's the same big picture. Okay, then as for the second thing, I'll just drop 1 or 2 like thoughts for the next class. So aside from the clear expectations, another thing really in my mind is I want to raise the bar again of class. I'm not joking when I say I want you guys to look back and be like, damn, this next class has all these things. Like, that is absolutely happening. That's just how I like to work with these things. Like, I want you guys to look at that and be like, man, like, maybe I can come back under like a fake name, like, you know, Terrence Wilkerson, and like Terrence, and be like, oh, like, you know, what is this apprenticeship? Like, that's the thing I want to convey. But I want to raise the bar. So, and filter applicants better with expectations. I'm already thinking, so you guys kind of get a sense of what's in my mind. I want to take maximum 10 people next time. And then I want to take 10 of the people who have who have both the greatest interest and the least excuses in their minds for why they're going to succeed. So, like, and that just has a million benefits, not least of which you get to make the decision ahead of time whether you're going to commit, because the next one, as we've been saying, is not likely to be free. This one was kind of like, oh, can you guys invest some time? And that's okay. But those of you, you guys, any of you who started learning a little bit more about sales know that when most people don't pay, they don't pay attention. So you guys actually stand out a little bit more because of what we've been able to do. And like, I don't know the reason for it, but just, it's cool. But we would have a different group if there was a, for example, application fee, or if you guys had to pay a certain amount to do this. And we're okay with that next time. Like, we like where this went, and next one's going to be even better. So like I said, getting to know you guys more on a personal level. So David, I have thought a lot about what you brought up last time about enabling better mingling. And like I said, after giving it some thought, I realized I can still find out what I want to know about you guys while still creating the structure for you guys to have that in the first place. And I feel like that's the interesting part to me about designing any educational experience. Like, not just be like, here guys is a zillion bits of information. It's more like, here's a chunk of things we think are really important. Here's how you're going to use it. Now do it and report back. That's the critical thinking and the way that I like to instruct, because I know ultimately you guys will benefit much more from being able to think through an issue rather than just being like, oh, what's the answer? Here's the answer. That's actually part of my pet peeve of people asking stuff that I've repeated probably more than, once, okay, maybe you missed it. It's okay. Like, everybody misses things. I miss things. 2 times gets a little sketchy, but 3, you're just not paying attention. Like, you don't have initiative, that kind of thing. Like, and again, mitigating circumstances that, like, things come up, but not a big deal. But then something we stressed from day one is just, can you step and like, you guys brought up some really good points that I really liked for how we can improve it next time. And we will do actually a lot of them. And one of those things that, from revealing the instructor perspective, is like, it is difficult to enable an attitude of initiative and problem solving, of getting you guys to a point where you're not like, oh, where's the Zoom link? Like, yes, we owe, I think, a responsibility to you guys to make things as clear as possible, to let you know how to get help when you need it, all of that. That's like, I see that as our responsibility. But then at a certain point, like, I would love, like, I see some of you guys through the last 6 weeks were helping each other out. Oh, here's where you can find this thing. Oh, this thing got lost. Here's the link, or here's this cool thing I found. That's what we want to see. It was around week 2 or 3 where Garrick and I were sitting down and we were like, the apprentices are talking to each other and we're not there. And we were like, wow, this is great. Like, it's what we wanted for you guys, where it wasn't just like, oh, well, let's go show up to class, learn. They talk at us. And like education, I think, is unfortunately different from schooling. And we wanted you guys to get an education. All right. I think there's so many more things, but like, I'll cap it at that.
There is one more suggestion for like the next class is,
oh yeah,
I believe feedback is a gift always, and it could be awkward sometimes, right? And it could be tough to give that feedback to someone, especially if it's negative. But a good feedback exercise, maybe week to week, instead of like some of the takeaways, is like name self-perception versus someone else's perception. So name 3 things that you think you did well, and 3 things that you think you did badly in that week, and then Rob or Garrick or whoever's shadowing that or observing me would have your own list and see which ones of those match up. And the ones that don't match up, those are the ones that we should be talking about improving amongst ourselves. So I don't know if that's a good suggestion week to week, possibly, because I wanted more and more feedback from the virtual classes. Like, I was wondering what I did well, the top 3, what I didn't do so well, the bottom 3. And I wanted to see if my list matched up with the way you were perceiving me. You're 3 and 3.
Love it. That is perfect. Actually, Terrence, that goes back to one thing I wish we had done better. So, and David, thank you for bringing that up. That's entirely one thing. So I had the intention of you guys being able to better self-assess your shadowing, but that was a failure of expectation setting on my end, and like giving you guys a good framework to succeed. I posted that. If you go back and look, that's there under the assignments, but we didn't reinforce it. It's that. We just didn't manage to make that follow through. But that was absolutely an intention, and that's actually a big one. Being able to help you guys improve even better. What I think ended up happening, and you guys correct me if I'm off base on this, but from what I think ended up happening was it just kind of ended up at instructor discretion for what they covered with you, how much they did, like whatever. And if you got lucky to be with Casper or me, if you call that lucky, like you got the whole riot act, or at least part of it. But yeah, that's a really good one. Thanks, David, for that reminder.
Yeah, like having 2 separate lists always works out, because it's always awkward giving feedback. So I would want to know. I'd never want to be on American Idol thinking that I can sing and I really can't. So
you get hung.
That's the analogy I'll use.
Perfect.
Yeah, Dave, that was a really good idea. That would be cool even for the next class. Just like you said, you brought it out to everybody to like self-assess, but I guess when you actually like have a written criteria out to make sure, hey, write down 3 points and I'll write down 3 points and we compare lists. It just kind of puts the initiative out there a little bit more for people to get it done. So I'll wrap it up. I want to finish with a big takeaway that everybody's gotten from their journey here, and what's the next steps after your 6 weeks at the apprenticeship. And I want to start this one off with Michaela.
Oh, can you guys hear me now? I'm like
Yep.
inside. Is my Wi-Fi good? Okay,
Crystal
we're good.
clear.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. My biggest takeaway, I think, with the 6 weeks that we have done, for me, I think my biggest takeaway, and I think I mentioned that already, but just the effort, the fact that like this was free was awesome. Like how many people can say they had an apprenticeship that they did for free where they were able to, shadow or teach a class or, learn about how someone programmed workout for a month. I think things like that are super hard to come by. It's like a really great thing for people to do, especially in this time with COVID. I think it definitely helped a lot. But like just the effort, because even though we had all this stuff, like if you didn't put in the effort or if you didn't make calls or you didn't communicate, I think just putting in the effort for things that you want, I think that is super important, because without effort, you can have all these goals and these things that you want to do, but if you don't put forth the effort, it's kind of hard to obtain those goals, and it's kind of hard to get to a point where you see yourself doing something or completing those goals. So I think for me, effort is definitely, that's what anything in life, but like I said, if you don't have effort, then it's just like, all right, well, what are you doing type of thing. And I think for me, next steps would be, I know I was telling Garrick, get my cert, which I have already signed up for, and hopefully to, if not, train at King, maybe to like help out with the administrative side or the business side, but mostly I would say just to stay connected and just to be a part of a family that, where we all want one thing, and that's to have a community. We all want to get strong, and we all just want to be in an environment where we feel safe and where we can express ourselves and just have fun. So
Love
yeah.
it. All right, Sahil, biggest takeaway and what are your steps and your journey after this?
My biggest takeaway was how to implement sales with personal training and not come off like a salesman. That makes sense.
Yes.
To still really focus on their fitness goals and needs. I would say that was my biggest takeaway. In terms of my next steps, number one is graduate school. That's really what's on my mind right now. In terms of certifications and all that kind of stuff, unfortunately, a lot of gyms in Ann Arbor have closed down for good. So there's not too many options right now. So it's really going to be for the next year. We actually figured this out today, is since the school gym is not opening, a couple friends of mine, they're all business majors, so it wasn't my idea, is we're actually going to build a gym out of our friend's basement, and we're going to charge kids a membership fee. And we already have kids who actually bought in early, and we were going to charge $40 a month, but we actually ended up doing $60 a month, and kids are coming in. So we've actually almost made back the money that we've put down to buy equipment, because we are doing a mix of just like stuff that, you have lying around the house or kids just go out and buy. So we're going to hopefully start personal training out of there. And then when I graduate school, look around wherever I end up and start my side career of personal training.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, I was kind of lucky. Kind of all happened in an hour's time. I was kind of impressed by that.
Yeah, man. Those are some of the best things that just happen spontaneous. That's how I got into the apprenticeship. Rob didn't even know I was the last person to put the application in.
I'm telling the story. I tell people the story of Terrence. I'm like, yeah, Terrence. Like when I'm talking to people, they're like, yeah, Terrence, how do you get involved? I'm like, oh, Terrence. Terrence has been hanging around and we were like, oh, he's kind of sort of curious about things. And then at the last hour, right when I went to the Google form to close it, like to close the responses, I was like, Terrence Wilkerson, what? Terrence just slid in at the last, like within the last hour before it was like whatever 9 p.m. or something. Terrence like 8:50 p.m. like boom slid in. I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. I told Garrick, I messaged him like, oh, look at this. This is gonna be interesting.
Hey, it worked out.
Sometimes.
Cheryl, you had quite the journey here. So I would love to hear your biggest takeaway, and I would love to hear what your next steps will be.
Let's see. So my biggest takeaway, I think, not just for myself, but I think everybody also, is really just that you're capable of doing a lot more than you think you can. I think for myself personally, you know, I feel like I had a little bit of a long journey getting to this point, and um, finally reaching my goal of becoming a coach has been something that I always thought was not really within my grasp. But here I am now. I'm working with King, and I'm teaching online classes and being a part of this with all of you guys. And I've definitely seen everybody improve so much over these past 6 weeks. Everybody's become, just so open, and you can see people are much more confident than they were in the beginning. So I think not only for us as coaches or aspiring coaches, but also for like the members and everybody, I think just in general, like people are capable of a lot more than they probably think they are. And then for me personally, going forward, I'm just really happy and thankful to be welcomed into this King team officially to coach online classes. I definitely, as I said before, as I'm coaching and teaching classes, I'm finding out there are a lot of gaps in my knowledge and things that I want to brush up on and become more experienced in. So probably do a lot of reading, learning more about movement, learning more about anatomy and all those good things. So for now, just brushing up and learning more to become a better coach.
Love it. T-Bone, biggest takeaway, good sir.
Honestly, I think my biggest takeaway from this apprenticeship is that, there's a huge difference between passing the test and getting that certification and teaching a class. I came into this really, really nervous about doing that, really anxious about doing that. And Rob and Garrick swear it didn't show, but I felt it. But after the 6 weeks, I felt more confident than ever, more motivated than ever, and honestly inspired by the two of them. And honestly, all the trainers at King. I think my biggest goal after this is obviously graduating college with the exercise science degree, getting all my certs. But I want to be teaching classes, whether it be at King or any other gym. Preferably King. I like it there. I like the community. I like how it's the atmosphere of a fit fam. I think Casper would say. But other than that, it's crazy how much you think you know, and then you come into a class and an apprenticeship, and it's like, I didn't know shit. But yeah, I think those are my biggest goals right now, is to be teaching classes soon enough.
Love it, love it. Kat?
Yes, so I definitely think over the last 6 weeks I've gotten a lot more confident. Like that's just a big thing, because I know in the beginning, when we did like the initial pearl or the initial gem thing, Jordan and Graham both thought I was like really pearl and really shy, and then I was like, that's not how I see myself. But then I understood, and now I'm more confident than like I was in the beginning. And my goals for later are kind of just graduate high school. Yeah. I want to find find a college. I don't know where I'm going yet, so kind of get that straight away. I'm still looking at what I want to do, although being in this apprenticeship has definitely opened my eyes to what exactly I see myself doing in the future and everything. And it, yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot. And I also I love the community at King, and it's literally like I used to go somewhere else, like a Taekwondo studio, and that was basically my home away from home. I was there 3 to 5 times a week, and I was I knew everybody there, and I was always talking to people. And then I stopped because like we moved, and I could no longer be over there. And like when I showed up at King, like after a couple weeks, I walked in and I was like, this is literally the same community, and I love it so much. And I like being here. I think I took a nap there the other day. Not even gonna lie. Gasper has a picture.
We saw it.
It's like, he snuck up on me. I didn't know he was there. But I definitely see myself maybe just like sticking in like the King community and just like being involved and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Dave, picking you last, sir.
You know, going last is the hardest, right? Because
Yeah, no, that's why I saved it for you.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is, I came into the program not knowing what to kind of expect and what I would, how I would grow from it. But I've definitely grown. Like I know I have a sales background, but you can never learn enough about, sales and how to do things differently. So I think I got a different perspective on that. And that helped me grow in kind of what I do day to day. And also again, I think Kat touched on the community. That was really big. And I feel like I need to get to know you guys better post the apprenticeship program. So, as soon as I'm hoping COVID's over, and I'll get to see you in person at some point. But yeah, that was the biggest takeaway. Like I went into, and I feel like we all went into the program, and coming out of it being different and having grown. So that to me means that it was a successful program. If everyone stayed the same, then that's the definition of insanity, right? You do the same things over and over with the same end result. You always have to do something different. So yeah, definitely. I think those were the biggest takeaways for me if I had to sum it up. In terms of what I'm doing after, I actually signed up for NASM 6 certifications. So I'm starting my first one.
What an emerald.
Yeah, well, they had the deal going, so I had to go for the deal. But yeah, I'm going to do PT and nutrition first, and getting a little intimidated. I read like 3 chapters today and a lot of Latin in the overhead assessment. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to memorize that whole chart, the overactive and underactive. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do that, but I don't know. I'm sure I can by osmosis by anyway. Yeah, no problem. It gets harder when you get older, by the way. So Rob's like, no, that's not true. But yeah, no, I think that's, and hopefully down the road, working for King at some point, that would be great as well, possibly in sales and training, or, personal training or group training. So the first step is getting that certification.
Beautiful. All right, so I'll wrap up with a couple closing statements. No, Garrick's not here, but I want to commend you and Garrick for putting this together, especially during the time that you did it, during this COVID. So I'm sure that was a big conversation that you guys had of how the hell do we pull this off with this big group, with COVID and the restrictions that's going on, online training, in-person training. Like, that's a big conversation to have. And I think you even kind of push back the apprenticeship program just a little bit to kind of like finalize some of those details of how you wanted to run this. So to deal with so many different personalities and so many different backgrounds and education, knowledge, all of that in a time like this, and still find a way to successfully do this, to me, I think is incredible. So I think we're going to give you a round of applause for that. And I think you guys should definitely tap yourself on the back for that as well. That's really, really good work that you did with all of us. All of us definitely learned something. I think all of us came out of here with some kind of growth. Even me doing it for so many years, like my whole mindset of staying in this field for so long is to never feel like I know it all. So watching you guys from afar, come around, taking some classes, and then we did the interview with the Minority Report with Evan and Marcus, and just hearing you guys speak about your gym, speak about the apprenticeship, which is really how I got interested in signing up, was from that interview that we had prior to this. And like listen to how you guys were like breaking down and how excited you were to bring this into the COVID time like this. I'm like, you know what? If there's anybody that I would want to learn from, it would be these guys right here. So that was my that's how I slipped in my application at 8:50 right before the deadline.
We're glad it happened too.
Yeah, because this was the second time I was able to shadow under someone since my internship about 2 years ago. Because a lot of this, I'm not going to go into my full journey right now, but a lot of this was me figuring myself out into personal training. It's literally something that I kind of fell into. And when Sahil speaks about training on his own for so many years and just like not really knowing the technical terms for certain stuff, but you know what it feels like and you know what it is, that was me when I first started. So after a while, I just wanted to put like some of the terms behind what I felt and put some of the science behind things that I kind of knew. And then over time, it's like, all right, this is what that means. So now I can simplify it, or I can put terms behind it when I teach it to other people. So being a part of an apprenticeship, which definitely took me out of my comfort zone with certain stuff. One of my goals in COVID and coming out of COVID was I wanted to just kind of be more vocal with more videos, just kind of do more community-based stuff. I wanted to work more with groups. So this kind of fell right into my lap. And I just think the timing of it was kind of perfect. Like where my brain was going, I just wanted to venture out. I wanted new scenery, new location. I wanted new faces, like just like another side of me that I haven't got to shown so much early on in my career. And then the apprenticeship popped up, and next thing I'm doing interviews and I'm on a blog site. And then I'm like, all right, that's funny how this is all kind of following itself through. And within the last 2 or 3 weeks of me running classes at King's, it's been like a whole nother spark that's came out of me. Like I have so many ideas running through my head, things that I want to do with King's, things that I want to do on the side. So I do want to thank you guys for the opportunity that you gave me with this, the knowledge that you gave me with this. And I'm super excited to see what happens months from now, years from now, and going forward. So those will be my closing comments. If you guys have anything to say after that, you can chime right in.
I always have things to say, but I'll speak to your commentary and let people have some time to speak too. Just for that, Terrence, it's like I think the idea I have in mind is I think the best I feel like I can do, me and Garrick, but me specifically, is create the best possible environment for people to grow in whatever way they need to. So we set the frame, but like Michaela was talking about effort, you got like, we don't hand much things to you. We set up the framework and then you guys get to decide what you get out of it. So it's got to be said too that all of you guys here who learned something from this, you earned it by doing what you had to do. We can only take credit for the enabling and the setting up the structure. So that deserves being said, Terrence. You get out of this what, not just what you put into it, but like you get out of it based on what you invest in it, I think is the best way to put it. So that's what it's saying.
Love it, love it. So I appreciate all you guys doing this. This was definitely optional. It's not something that anybody had to take out of their Sunday evening. So I appreciate you guys all sharing your experiences with me. I learned a lot about each of you during this. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow the YouTube. Like I said, thank you all for coming out, and hope to see you all soon.
What's the channel, Terrence, that we should all be looking for?
Yeah, I was going to say
Beast.
YouTube.
Nice and simple. Building Beast. It'll be right on the YouTube. I'll share the link with you guys. So we'll try to get this out here by Monday or Tuesday for sure.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having us on, Terrence.
Thank you. Everyone have a great one.
Thanks, Terrence.
Thanks.
Great night, guys.
Good night, y'all.
Catch you all later.
Good night. Good night.
Later.